Hi everyone, welcome back to English with Dry. Today we're going to take a close look at the theme of ambition in Shakespeare's Macbeth. I'm going to show you exactly how the theme appears in the play, which characters it involves, and then we'll take a brief look at how you might structure an essay about the topic. So the first thing that's worth noting is that ambition is a theme that underpins the entire play. It is the guiding force behind Macbeth's actions and his wife's desire to claim the throne. It is something that appears in Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 3, and develops over the course of time. While there are certain differences of opinion about the extent to which the ambition is his, or the extent to which he is manipulated, it is of fundamental significance regardless, and any essay that you could ever write about Macbeth could link in some way to the idea or topic of ambition. The first quote that links it directly is in Act 1, Scene 3. Macbeth has been given the prophecy of his upcoming kingship by the three witches, and he begins to feel excited. He asks, "Why do I yield to that suggestion, whose horrid image doth unfix my hair, and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature?" The prophecies appear to promise great things, however they seem fantastical, yet almost immediately the first is proved correct, as Macbeth is rewarded with the title of Thane of Cawdor for his feats in battle. He realises immediately that this news excites him and makes him wonder if the second prediction, that he will be king, would also come true. Despite his admission that becoming king would be against nature and that it is a horrid image, he cannot help but yield or give in to it. It is further shown in Act 1, Scene 4, after Malcolm is proclaimed the Prince of Cumberland by Duncan. Macbeth, as an aside, comments, "Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires." The naming of Malcolm as Prince of Cumberland formally recognises him as the next in line for the title of King of Scotland. He acknowledges that this complicates matters for him, as it is another obstacle in his path to the crown. As such, Macbeth calls on the fates to obscure his evil intentions, in doing so confirming that his mind is overflowing with sinful ambition. At this point, Macbeth relates all that has happened to his wife in the form of a letter. She finishes reading it, and comments that she does fear his nature. "It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way. Thou wouldst be great, art not without ambition, but without the illness should attend it." On learning of the witch's prophecy, Lady Macbeth reflects on her husband's chances of successfully claiming the throne from Duncan. She doubts his ruthlessness and his will to carry out the sinful and grisly act required to take the crown, metaphorically emasculating him through the suggestion that he is too much like a woman to do this. She does not question the presence of ambition, however, implying that she knows that this is a quality of his that already exists. Rather, she fears he does not have the illness or wickedness to act on his ambition. By Act 1, Scene 7, Macbeth and his wife's plans are in full swing. However, he begins to doubt whether or not he will proceed in the business. He, in a soliloquy, comments to himself, "I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition which o'erleaps itself and falls on the other." Macbeth has second thoughts at this point about acting upon his ambition, fearing the mortal repercussions of committing regicide. He reasons that he has no need of the crown, as he has been showered with praise and accolades, especially by Duncan, for his recent bravery in battle. He admits that all he has is ambition, and using a metaphor about horse riding, describes his anxiety that if he attempts too much, he may fall and fail. Yet, famously, he and his wife do carry out the murder, blaming in the process the sons of Duncan, Malcolm and Donalbain. After the murder has been revealed, the Scottish nobleman Ross discusses with his elderly father. He comments, "'Gainst nature still, thriftless ambition that wilt ravin up thine own life's means, then 'tis most like the sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth." As I said, after Duncan's brutal murder, his two sons Malcolm and Donalbain flee Scotland. As such, it is generally thought that they played some part in his death. The nobleman Ross discusses with his elderly father that this means that Macbeth will most likely assume the throne. He describes their supposed deed as thriftless ambition, or a foolish act that serves only to swallow, raven up, exactly the thing that helps them thrive, their father Duncan. This serves as a message to Macbeth, who has ironically killed the only person who granted him success. At the beginning of Act 3, Scene 1, Macbeth's closest friend Banquo reflects to himself, "If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush no more." Banquo functions as the foil to Macbeth in this play because he steadfastly is loyal and refuses to give in to his own ambition. This is a stark contrast to Macbeth's inability to remain loyal and his traitorous actions. After Macbeth is crowned, Banquo considers how, since the prophecies concerning his friend have come true, so too may the ones concerning him which promised his offspring would one day become monarchs themselves. However, his unwillingness to continue with that line of thought portrays him as a morally good character, one who respects his place in the world and would not commit an act of treachery. The fact that James VI and I believed he was descended from the historical figure of Banquo is possibly why Shakespeare wrote the character in this way. Macbeth begins to ponder Banquo's fate. He chid the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren sceptre in my grip. Thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. Despite achieving the kingship, Macbeth is unsatisfied and his paranoia grows that Banquo will attempt to overthrow him. He fears that his crown is fruitless and his sceptre barren, metaphorically implying that his actions have been pointless, as one day Banquo's children will become kings rather than his own. He starts to convince himself that Banquo is just ambitious as he is, remembering when his friend asked the witches for them to tell him his future also after they had spoken with him. This reflects his growing madness and marks the descent into tyranny, as his insecurity and ambition make him resolve to murder his closest ally. By Act 5, Scene 1, Lady Macbeth has descended into madness. She begins to hallucinate blood on her hands and asks the question, "Here's the smell of the blood still. All the perfumes of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand." After her part as an accomplice in Duncan's murder, Macbeth largely begins to ignore his wife. By denying her a part in his kingship and his life, she slowly descends into madness, tortured by regretting what they have done. The indelible blood she hallucinates on her hand metaphorically represents the guilt that she cannot escape. Her insanity and subsequent suicide serve as a warning against attempting to realise the same unnatural ambitions that she did. When Macbeth learns of this in Act 5, Scene 5, he gives one of the most important soliloquies in the play. Out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Macbeth learns in quick succession that his wife has died, and that soon Malcolm's army will arrive to overthrow him. He begins to ponder the meaning of life and reflect on his pointless attempts to exert control over his own destiny. He metaphorically compares life to a play, in doing so admitting that he is doing no more than act out a part someone has written for him. His plotting and murders have proved to be in vain, as he understands now that he could never really be the true king. The soliloquy reflects his final realization that all human ambition is ultimately worthless. We will all ultimately die, and so all actions and attempts to better ourselves are futile. If you would like a more detailed analysis of this scene, soliloquy, and its ramifications within the play, please have a look at the video I've made on it. Link is in the top right corner now. So, exam responses. Questions relating to the theme of ambition and how characters are used to present it are very common in GCSE English literature, as it's one of the foundational aspects of the play. It's also a topic that is heavily linked with themes such as violence, loyalty, fate, and guilt. Ambition is at the heart of the actions of the two main characters, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, however can also be explored through analysis of Banquo, Malcolm, the witches, and Macduff. To achieve a grade 9, your essay must explore how the theme is presented and put forward an argument as to why Shakespeare made it the basis for his play. Now, I'm going to take you briefly through several interpretations or possible avenues for argument. However, these are by no means all of them, and I suggest, as always, that a bit of self-study and research online is the best way to make sure that you are getting the very top grades. First and foremost, Shakespeare's play is a cautionary tale. At its most basic level, it serves as a warning against unchecked ambition and what this can lead to when it's not controlled by human morality. Specifically, Shakespeare warns his audience of the consequences of attempting to reach higher than our assigned place in life through murderous violence. Macbeth's commitment to bloodshed leads only to more suffering and loss, culminating in his own savage death. The tyranny with which Macbeth sustains his crown shows that ambition can never be the basis of good leadership. King James VI and First. It's necessary also to ground the play in its historical context. James famously acted as a patron to Shakespeare and helped to fund the performance of his plays. It's no surprise, therefore, that Shakespeare created a text in which treachery and alliances with the supernatural are greatly punished. James's constant paranoia of being usurped and his extremely harsh treatment of traitors can be read as an influence for the demise of Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Furthermore, their willingness to embrace witchcraft and the forces of darkness are similarly connected to their final judgment. James, of course, was one of the most famous, or rather infamous, witch-hunting kings in the history of the United Kingdom, and so therefore this is a dimension that's relevant also. Finally, what I would call a cosmic transgression. Macbeth's greatest sin is arguably his attempt to pervert God's will. The ideas of fate and predestination are explored throughout, with Macbeth's ambition putting him directly at odds with the prevailing beliefs in the divine right of kings and the great chain of being. He challenges the role he was born to play in life, and in doing so attempts to break free from the shackles of feudal life that have ruled the country for nearly 1,000 years. His mental torture, coupled with the utter void he is met with on achieving his desires, represent a searing rebuke of those daring to live beyond their means in Renaissance England. I hope you found this video helpful. We have lots more on Macbeth to check out, and there's lots more coming soon. Please make sure you like and subscribe. Good luck.